Today we're going low and slow and making pulled pork sandwiches with the traditional Carolina barbecue sauce. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment with what you're going to be cooking this weekend. So like I said, I got a bone-in pork butt, pork shoulder, and it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to be cooking this Carolina style. There's a couple different ways you can do that. There's Western Carolina and there's Eastern Carolina, but the main thing that really holds them all together is that we're going to be using a vinegar-based sauce and keeping it kind of simple on the seasoning front. So I got a blend here. This is just coarse ground black pepper, some salt, and a little bit of garlic powder. We're going to get a binder on it, and we're going to trim this fat up a little bit. And I have officially become a fat-down person. I'll explain that a little bit later, but to start, what we're going to do here is we're going to trim this fat down, get like you can see here, you can see a little bit of the meat coming through, and that fat there, that's a little bit thin, but this stuff is a little bit thicker right here. So first order of business, getting this trimmed down a little bit so more of this rub can stick. So like I said, we're not going to take a ton off. Just want to insert my sharp knife, get a little strand going, and then pull apart. See, that's perfect. You get a little bit of meat there, but you can see it starting to get thin, a little bit like over here. Yeah, see, that's all I'm going to do here. This is all good. I can manage with this, and like I said, we're going to go fat down, so most of this is going to render out anyway. It's really more about just protecting this meat here. So like I said, we're going to be cooking fat side down, so we're going to start off with the seasoning process on this side, and we're going to be keeping it pretty traditional here. I got a very basic, this is coarse ground black pepper, this is salt, and a little bit of garlic powder. It's one of the things that separates Carolina barbecue, is that it's pretty traditional. And there's some folks that won't even put pepper. A lot of folks will do just salt only. I happen to like pepper, and I happen to like a little garlic too, so I don't think you're gonna avoid this out by adding those in there. And this giant piece of meat can take everything you're gonna throw at it here, so please be liberal with this. Slather it on. You're gonna hit sides here. It's that money muscle right there. It's gonna be good. It smells awesome. I love that combo. Salt, pepper, garlic, you really cannot go wrong. I think that coarse ground pepper is really gonna help get a nice crust on this. We're gonna get this butt on about 250 degrees, and then we're gonna start working on our mop sauce. I'll tell you about that in a little bit, but it's really simple. I made mine the night before. You can keep it for a couple weeks, honestly. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I'm going for. We're gonna let this grill come on up to temp around 250 degrees, and we're gonna get it on. Okay, grill's up to about 250 degrees right now. This is perfect, and we're gonna get this butt on. Making a nice nifty package here. I want to have the bone on this side over here so I can keep a good eye on it. So that looks good to me. Got the fat down. Got the smoke rolling. Got some hickory and apple that's been rolling for maybe about 20 minutes or so. Get that nice light smoke. But this is looking good. At this point, we're going to shut this down. We're going to come back and check in a few hours. Hit it with that Moppin Sauce I was telling you about. Okay, it's been about 3 hours now at 250 degrees, and at this point what we're going to do is that it's starting to dry out a little bit, so we want to preserve that bark. And we've done things in the past. We've done apple juice spritz, we've done water, but today in true Carolina fashion, what we're going to do is we're going to involve our Moppin Sauce. And so what this is, it's Moppin Sauce, it's vinegar sauce, but it's a traditional Eastern Carolina vinegar sauce that I actually whipped up here. And I'll put the ingredients and the amounts down in the description. It's a pretty loose sauce. I could just threw it all together, but it tastes really good. And what it is, it's primarily apple cider vinegar, red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper flakes, salt and pepper, and I let it sit overnight. And this is really traditional Eastern Carolina. Sometimes, when people talk about Carolina sauces, they imply that it's vinegar heavy, and that's true, but there's different kind of sub-regions within the Carolinas. South Carolina has mustard, Eastern Carolina is what we're working with now, very heavy on the vinegar, and Western Carolina has very heavy vinegar, but there's also a little bit of tomato in there as well. So really cool thing to start to dive into, but today we're doing Eastern Carolina, and at this point what we're going to do, open up the Joe here, take a look at that butt, and start to baste the butt with this Moppin Sauce. So let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look and see how we're doing here. There we go. It's looking nice, got some good color. You can see it's starting to get a little bit mahogany around the edges there. And what I'm going to do here is I got that Moppin Sauce that we talked about, and I'm just going to baste it. I'm not going to drown it. I just want to add a little bit of that twang and help preserve that bark. You can hear it hitting that grill grate. Oh man, it's smelling really, really nice here. That red pepper is going to work with the with that salt, pepper, garlic blend that we put on to start with. This is good. And this is the same sauce that we're going to put on top of the actual sandwiches in the end. But, you know, this is looking really good. I just probed it before we came on out here. It was about 145 degrees. So I want to get up to probably around 165 or so before we wrap it. But we're going to come back and check this in another hour or so, hour and a half. Actually, I don't know if you saw, see the little wiggle there? That's a good sign. The fact that we haven't even wrapped it and it is kind of jiggly. That means it tells me that there's a good amount of fat on the inside there. That's going to be helping us out with the end product. So, you know, stick around. We're going to be back in probably a few hours. Okay, it's been 5 hours rolling at 250 degrees. I came out and basted it once more with that mop sauce, and it's looking really, really nice here. I'm going to carefully try to lift this up and give you a better look. Beautiful, nice and juicy, good color. This thing's ready to come on off. We're going to get it wrapped. This butt looks really, really nice. Feels good, good color. The last thing I'm going to do before we wrap it is I'm going to hit that with that same basting sauce, and not a ton. I just want to give this just a little bit extra moisture as it starts to braise down. I don't think it's going to need all that much though, because this is a pretty fatty hunk of pork here. So we're going to go ahead, start to get this wrapped up. I got double layers here on the bottom, so we're going to carefully build a nice little nifty package. Make sure it's nice and tight. I'm going to put another layer on top. So the bottom, one of the layers of foil on the bottom kind of snagged a little bit, so I'm adding a third layer just for precaution. You want to go ahead and try, yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong by adding more foil. The only thing I want to be careful of is not to make it too hard to get into to check later on. So the sides and the bottom are nice and covered, and I'll probably only do one sheet on the very top, just so I can pull this off with relative ease when it comes time to start checking for temp and most importantly feel. So same story, that side down, and then this is just when I get in there and just push it, just get rid of all those air pockets. We want to make sure that this thing is going to braise in its juice as much as possible, and the fewer air pockets and space in there, the better. So this feels pretty good, looks good. We're going to you know, look at the temperature here, throw it back on for 250 until it's ready to pull off, and that could be, you know, maybe a couple hours or so. Okay, so it's been, we put it on at 9 o'clock, so that was 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, it's been about 9 hours. So this is about a 9.5 pound butt, roughly around an hour per pound. It's funny, usually I'm actually a little bit less than 1 hour per pound, but today we're right on it. That all just depends on the type of fat and the sauces and just like the temperature and everything, these sort of fluctuations. But we've been holding steady. This thing's been wrapped, I guess now for about almost 3 hours. We put the put that mop sauce in, wrapped in some tin foil, you know, threw it on for 250, and it's feeling really good. We're probing tender right now. We're right around that 200, 201, 202 mark in terms of internal doneness. So now is actually the hardest part. I know we've been cooking all day, but this is the toughest part, and you've seen me do it before, but we got to rest it. And so I got my cooler here, I got a nice towel here. You know, don't use your mother-in-law's linens. You know, get the scrappiest towel in the entire house that you can find. You know, just have a dedicated barbecue towel. That's what I do. So this thing's going to come on off. We're going to throw in the cooler, put this towel on top of it, and then we're going to let it rest for, you can do this anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, and even if you were going to reheat this the next day, you can even do that too, and just have it be done and then reheat it tomorrow. But you know, we're probably going to let it rest for about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then we're going to come and break into this and make some sandwiches. So we're going to get this off now. It's looking good. It feels good. Feels nice and wiggly, if that's you know, a metric of measurement for pork butt, but it feels really good. We're gonna plop this in here, get that nice and down. Just a towel for some insulation. That's all you need to do. You can bring this inside, you can leave it outside. I'll leave it outside. It's kind of a nice day, and then you know, we're gonna wait. We got some buns, we got some coleslaw that we're gonna put on top of this. We got that mop sauce, that same vinegar sauce. We're gonna use that to top it all off at the end. And you know, it's gonna be a good classic Eastern Carolina pulled pork, so stick around. So to recap what we did, we got a nice bone-in Boston butt, really good marbling. We put some mustard on it, and then we hit it with some salt and pepper and some garlic. Real good, simple seasonings. Not like a ton of traditional barbecue seasoning, but really good nonetheless. And then we smoked it on there with some applewood and a little bit of hickory. And after that, we've been basting it with this Eastern Carolina style vinegar sauce. We're talking vinegar, red pepper, salt, pepper, and then we wrapped it with that same sauce. Like I said, for 3 hours, been sitting now for an hour, and now it's time to pull into it. So I'm really excited. We're going to get it out. It's got the towel on top of it here. We've been getting it nice and insulated. It looks really good. It smells awesome. We're going to get on this plate. We're going to shred this thing up. Okay, let's get this thing out. This is one of the reasons why I love these insulated coolers. This one's from Yeti. It's perfect size, but it's also really easy to clean out after the fact. So I'm going to throw this to the side here. And we're going to focus on breaking into this thing. Nice color. You can see there's definitely some bark, definitely some pullback from those bones. We're going to pull in here in a second here, but get rid of that. See, the last time I did this, I tried to pull the pork butt out of the foil and put it in this exact same tray, and it fell apart. And I wanted the really good shot of pulling the bone out. So I'm going to try it again. We're going to try it. There's no guarantee. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing if the bone just leaps out of the butt. It means you did a good job. But just for my own sake, and for the sake of being able to take a picture of it, I would really like to be able to pull it out. So we're going to try. No guarantees, though. Okay, folks. We're going to try it here. This is, you're watching this along with me here. There we go. Hey, we might actually do it, guys. Come on. Hold on. Get rid of the foil. Nice. And you know what? That juice is too good. That's a mixture of that basting juice that we were using, that vinegar sauce, along with those natural juices. We're not going to waste that. You kidding me? Look at that. Okay, folks. It's looking really good. I have a good feeling about this. Obviously, the bone here is looking. Yeah. See, it just fell out. See? That's the instant read thermometer, you know? And so, obviously happy with that. And at this point, I got my heat gloves here. These are really good. These are awesome for handling hot pans and everything, but also really good for breaking into it. Like butts and things like that, you can wash them. So I definitely highly recommend these as always. So we're going to go ahead, and you can just see right away that's falling apart, looking really, really nice. And Carolina style pork, I've seen it. Like I said, if you watch the last episode, I'm from the Carolinas. I like to think I know my barbecue from there. Sometimes you'll see it like pulled like this, like big strands, and that's how I like it. But other times you'll see it chopped up. And I think I'm more of a fan of this. And so I'm really not going to tear this apart or chop it as much as you might see in some roadside stands. Look at that, we got pork flying everywhere. I just want to break it up. And honestly, that's good for me because you can see everything. You can see you can see that smoke ring. Look at that. You can see nice big strands. It's going to stay juicy. And that's just beautiful for me. Look at that. You got the nice big old strands. Got that bone coming out. That is all I need to make a sandwich. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get some buns. We got some of that mop sauce, that slaw, and we're gonna make a sandwich here. Okay, folks, we got an awesome pile of Carolina style pulled pork. And when I say Carolina style, it's really not so much about what we did to the pork. It's more about the sauce. The only thing with Carolina pork is that I'll say is that just keep it simple. Like I said, most people. I don't want to say most people. A lot of folks in the region will do salt only. I added some black pepper and some garlic. I just like that flavor profile. But what makes a Carolina is the vinegar, and that's what we have here. That's what we have in that Mop Sauce that we were working with earlier, and that's what we're using for our actual sauce we're going to put on top of these pulled pork sandwiches. And I'm using Eastern Carolina style. We're talking vinegar, red pepper, salt, pepper. If this was Western Carolina, it'd be a little bit of some brown sugar and some tomato in that. Might do a video on that as well, but for tonight, we're using Eastern Carolina, and we're going to make a very proper Eastern Carolina sandwich. Oftentimes, which includes a nice dollop of coleslaw on top of that. Again, totally optional, but right now what we're going to do is we're going to get some nice traditional buns here. Nothing fancy, you know, don't go getting those brioche buns, nothing like that, nothing from the bakery. Just like grab something from the supermarket, something really nice and chewy and white, and just gonna be delicious. And we're gonna make a sandwich here. Awesome. Last thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to obviously top this with some pulled pork, and you can be as generous as you want here. I'm gonna try to contain it just a little bit, but man, that looks good. Just a nice mound of that beautiful pulled pork. And you know what, I'm gonna try to find a little piece with some bark maybe. Put that right on top. And that is looking beautiful to me. Last thing, that Moppet Sauce we made earlier. That vinegar, red pepper, salt, pepper. You're gonna hit that on top. You don't need to go crazy with this stuff because it is vinegar based. It definitely has that twang. So, you know, a little goes a long way. That looks perfect to me. And then last but not least, a little bit of dollop of nice creamy coleslaw, because it is going to help, that sweetness is going to help cut through that bite of that vinegar, add to that savoriness of that pulled pork. And that's it. Look at that. Beautiful pulled pork sandwich. Just classic. No frills. When I go back to my hometown, North Carolina, this is exactly what they're serving nowadays. And this is just taste of home here. And, you know, you don't have to be in North Carolina to enjoy proper Eastern Carolina, North Carolina pulled pork sandwiches. So, last thing we got to do here, I don't know how careful I'm going to be with it and how much it's going to stay together, but I'm going to get a bite. What do you say? That's delicious. Succulent pulled pork. Just perfect. Really nice. Not mushy. No tug. Just really properly cooked pulled pork. Got that smoke. This vinegar sauce really, you would think that like it would taste vinegary, but it doesn't. It just makes the pork taste better. Gives it a little heat. And it's just really, really tremendous. And this is like aside from it being a sandwich, this pork is fantastic. We did a really good job of making that smoke ring. You see that there? And it's just falling apart. And that coleslaw, you know, nice and creamy. You know, not fancy artisan coleslaw. This is something just from the grocery store. Take it to the bank. You got to make this. You know, folks, really enjoyed making this one today. This is a long cook. You know, we started at it was 10, threw this on at 10 a.m. and it's just after 7 now, and we're wrapping it up, but you know, it's totally worth it. Relatively easy cook just throughout the day. Just make sure your temperature's sticking within that 250 zone. You know, you come out, you baste it with this Mop Sauce, and again, got a description, got the ingredients list down in the description, so definitely take a look at that. We basted it a couple times, just make sure that that bark, you know, stayed where we wanted it to be. Then we wrapped it for a little bit, again with that Moppin Sauce, and then we let it sit. Again, that's the hardest part, letting it sit, but it's going to pay you dividends in the end, and it certainly did this time, because this is a delicious sandwich. I cannot wait to crush the rest of this. But yeah, as always, until next time, if you like this video, hit that like button, comment with what you're cooking this weekend, with what I should be cooking. We're gearing up for 4th of July. What's one of your 4th of July staples? And as always, you know, we appreciate all the comments and good vibes and everything, and you know, stay tuned for whatever we're going to be cooking next week. Who knows? If you have an idea, drop it in the comments. And as always, this is KamadoMax. Thanks again.